Good morning, grade 3. Mr. Kevin here. Hope you're all well this morning. Last week we looked at our 10 spellings for week 1 and week 2. And this week we are going to look at putting some of those words into a short story. And to do that, we're going to use a structure, a story structure. So we're going to try and use the same structure for every story that we do this year. And this is our story structure. Okay, we have 5 main parts to a story. Part number 1 is the introduction. Okay, so this is the start of the story where we introduce the setting and the characters. Now, the setting is where and when does the story take place. That's our setting. And the characters are the main people in the story. Second part of the story is the build-up. And basically that is, what are the characters doing in the story? The third part of the story is problem. So something happens, there's a problem. Number 4, resolution or dilemma. So we have introduced our problem, which is something happens, and the fourth part then is the resolution of that problem. The problem is resolved. And then our fifth part is our conclusion or the ending of our story. So those are our 5 parts of our story. Let's have a little look at those in more detail now. First part, again, is our introduction, where we describe our characters and our setting. And here we have some story opener ideas. Once upon a time, early one morning, late one night, it was a hot summer's day, and in the middle of the forest there stood a. They're just some story opening phrases that you can use for your story. You can make up your own one if you want, but they're just some ideas there to help you. Then describe the setting. Okay, where did the story take place? Did it take place in the haunted castle or in the deep, dark wood? Where did it take place? Where and when did it take place? We also describe our characters and try and use their names if we can. Okay, so if instead of saying my sister and I, you could say my sister Darlene and I, for example. Okay, you try and use the characters' names. Use powerful verbs such as muttered, stumbled, chased, fought. Use amazing adjectives, the sly, clever fox, the heroic knight. So instead of just saying the fox, put in some adjectives there to make the story more interesting. So you could say the sly, clever fox, or the red fox, or the smart fox, or the brilliant fox, or whatever. Try and use adjectives to describe your characters to make the story more interesting. Also try to describe your character's feelings, if you can, in the story. So when she saw the castle, she felt afraid. Or when she saw the rainbow, she felt happy, etc. Right, so again, our introduction, we try and introduce our setting and our characters. Okay, where did the story take place? When did it take place? And who are our main characters in the story? The second part, again, of our story structure, is the build-up. And I've said before, that's basically what are the characters doing in the story? What are they thinking, or what are they doing? So we could have, let's say, go back to our introduction there, we can have once upon a time, in the haunted castle, there lived a princess named Fiona. Or I could say there lived a beautiful princess named Fiona, putting in an adjective there. And I can describe her feelings as well. I could say Fiona was, When she looked outside of the castle windows, she felt happy, something like that. Now, our build-up then, what are the characters doing? So I could say, Princess Fiona was stroking her long blonde hair, something like that. Or what are they thinking, right? Again, the idea is that we paint a picture for the reader. So we get a picture in our heads, and we can picture what the actual characters are doing, okay? And here are some tips. You don't have to include them all, but it's just some ideas to help you out. Use the 5 senses to build the picture. Sight, sound, touch, smell, taste. We can use conjunctions, when, if, that, because, or, and, or but. For example, she was walking in the woods when she saw a little cottage. We can also use dialogue, which is direct speech. I'm afraid, she confessed. So again, here we're showing the character's feelings. And throughout the story, remember guys, full stops, capital letters, exclamation marks, and commas in lists. So that's part 2. Okay, basically, in summary, what are the characters doing? What are they doing? What are they thinking? Okay, how are they feeling? Our third part is we need to introduce a problem or a dilemma, a surprise, a problem, or an event. So, who is introduced? Someone, something, a mysterious new character, an old friend or enemy, a prince or princess, a dragon, a monster, a wolf. So you're probably going to introduce someone or something new to the story. Where does this person appear from? Beside the fireplace, onto the chimney, from out of the sky. When did it happen? First thing in the morning, as the clock struck 12. How did it happen? Suddenly, without warning. So for example, you could say, suddenly, an old witch appeared from out of the sky. We can use dialogue here as well, direct speech. Stay back, the brave knight warned the fierce dragon. I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house down, shouted the wolf. And the idea of our problem is to build excitement, okay? We do that by using paragraphs with quick, short sentences, or by using short sentences, okay? We use the past tense. Obviously, we use the past tense because it's a story, something that happened. And again, our characters, what are they thinking? What are they doing? What are they thinking when this new character arrives or when this problem happens? What are they thinking or what are they doing? So that's our third part where we introduce our problem. The fourth part of our story, we need to resolve the problem. So this is our resolution. What happened next? How did the characters solve the problem? Did someone arrive to help? Was there a surprise? Did the main character find some inner strength? Was it all a dream? Has the mystery been solved completely, or is the story to be continued? So here are some examples of how we could resolve a problem. All of a sudden, in rushed the woodcutter. So that's the resolution to our problem in Little Red Riding Hood. She bravely asked if she could try putting her foot into the glass slipper. Cinderella. Out of the blue, the prince came riding in. She arrived back home, but she didn't notice that she had accidentally brought home a strange friend. The children stepped back into the old wardrobe, through the old wardrobe and into their room. Okay, so basically, how is the problem resolved? Did someone arrive to help? Was there a surprise? Did the main character find some inner strength? Was it all a dream? What happened? How was the problem resolved? And finally, we have our conclusion or our ending. We need to finish the story, okay? Return to the first setting. What's different from the beginning? Describe how things have changed. Example, she never saw her mean, unkind stepmother or stepsisters again. Since then, the wolf has never returned. Have any lessons been learned? The three little pigs never built a house out of straw or sticks again. Little Red Riding Hood always listened to her mother after that. Again, we can use dialogue or direct speech. Phew, I'm home now, she announced. Thank you for rescuing me, she shouted happily. So again, fifth part is our conclusion or our ending, where we need to finish the story. Was it a happy ending? Was it a sad ending? How have things changed from the start of the story? Okay. And so let us have a look at our spelling story. So this is our worksheet, our spelling story. So we need to use 5 of this week's spellings to write a short spelling story. And students at home are going to record a video of themselves reading their spelling story when they're finished. Here's an example story that I prepared earlier following those 5 steps. Okay, remember our 5 steps, our 5 parts of our story are the introduction, where we introduce our settings and character, the build up, where we say what the characters are doing. The third part is introduction of the problem. Fourth part is resolution of the problem. And the fifth part is the ending of the story. So let's have a look at what I did there. So my sentence starter is early one morning. My sporty sister Darlene and I were happily playing catch with the ball outside a haunted castle beside our house. So when in the introduction, okay, remember we introduce our characters and our setting. What's my setting? My setting is, when did it happen? Early one morning. Where did it happen? Outside a haunted castle beside our house. There's my setting. Characters, my sporty sister Darlene and I. So we're the 2 main characters. And you notice I didn't say my sister Darlene, I said my sporty sister Darlene. So I used an adjective there to make the story more interesting. So that's my introduction there. I've introduced the characters and the setting, haven't I? Second part of the story is the build-up. So what were the characters doing? Soon our friends arrived and we decided to stretch and have a football match. So that's the build-up. We were playing a football match. Part number 3, problem. We need to introduce a problem. All of a sudden, we heard a loud shriek and a massive dragon appeared from behind the castle. We heard a loud shriek and a massive dragon. Again, I'm using adjectives to make the story more interesting. And I've introduced a problem, haven't I? The dragon started to shoot fire angrily towards us. That's a big problem, isn't it? Dragon shooting fire at you, scary. So he started to shoot fire angrily. I could have said the dragon started to shoot fire towards us, like that. But I decided to use an adverb to describe how the dragon was shooting the fire. He was angry, so he started to shoot fire angrily towards us. Or I could say quickly or viciously or loudly. Okay, I could use these kind of words to make the story more interesting. Again, run, I shouted, using direct speech. We all took cover behind some trees. I was so scared. And again, we try and tell the reader how the characters are feeling, if we can. Now, part number 4, resolution of the problem. How do we resolve the problem? Suddenly, a brave knight jumped high into the air and with one swipe of his sword, he cut off the dragon's head. Problem resolved. So I've introduced a new character here, a brave knight. He jumps high into the air, and with one swipe of his sword, he cut off the dragon's head. Part number 5, conclusion or ending of the story. Thank you so much for taking care of us, Dalene said to the knight. No problem. Dragons do not like football, he said as he walked proudly back to his castle. I looked at my watch. It was very late and we ran all the way home. I will never forget that day. So there's an example story where we've used all 5 parts of our structure, our story structure, okay? Just to recap again, part number 1 is the introduction, where you introduce the characters and the setting, right? Who are your main characters? Where did it happen and when did it happen? Part number 2 is the build-up. So what are the characters doing? Part number 3, problem. You need to introduce a problem to the story. Part number 4, resolution to the problem. How is the problem resolved? And part number 5 is the conclusion or the ending of the story, where you finish your story. Okay? So you guys are going to do the same thing here. You're going to write your own story, your own short spelling story. So you've got to use at least 5 of the spellings that we learned last week. Okay, I've used 5 of them there. They're underlined here: catch, stretch, match, care, and watch. You can use more than 5 if you want, but a minimum of 5 words. Okay, and try to follow the structure of the story as I've outlined there. Introduction, build up, problem, resolution, conclusion or ending. Okay, and feel free to look back over this video a few times if you want, and yeah, and look at the individual slides if you need any more help. Okay, when you're finished, guys, record a video of you reading the short story. Hold your worksheet up to the camera at the end of the video so your teacher can read it, and upload the video to the online system. Okay, guys, have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.